Country houses like Wentworth Woodhouse were built as clear expressions of wealth and power. They have an air of strength, stability and permanence about them. But in reality, they're fragile and vulnerable, as their fate throughout the 20th century demonstrates. Thorington Hall in Suffolk was built in 1819. It's a modest building by comparison to Wentworth Woodhouse, but by 1945 its owners no longer had any use for it, and it was put up for sale. 4 years later, it still hadn't found a buyer, and in 1949 it was finally demolished. The post-war period was a terrible time for country houses, and literally hundreds of them met the same fate as Thorington Hall. For most of the 20th century, owners didn't need planning permission to demolish a house. All they had to do was serve a notice of intent. Sutton Scarsdale in Derbyshire was dismantled in 1920. 3 of its grand interiors were sold off to American museums, and the empty shell of the house is now cared for by English Heritage. Wingerworth Hall near Chesterfield was demolished in 1924, and the land on which it stood was redeveloped for housing. Clumber House in Nottinghamshire was demolished in 1938. The contents of the house were auctioned off prior to demolition, and the parkland now forms a major attraction for the National Trust. In 1974, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London hosted a major exhibition called The Destruction of the Country House. It highlighted the fate of country houses over a 100-year period, and it was instrumental in changing public opinion and political will towards them. Given the scale of Wentworth Woodhouse and the huge costs involved in maintaining it, it's a miracle that the house has survived to the present day. And we'll cover the story of how this happened in future videos. Research shows that over 2,000 country houses were lost across the United Kingdom. Here are just a few that were close to Wentworth Woodhouse.